Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with Troy Doherty. He's all set to release his new six-song EP titled Calvin Core, and I'm super excited to talk to him about it. Troy, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, Austin. I'm great.
What's going on in your part of the world? You mentioned you were in Nashville. What's the
Mhm.
weather like over there right now? It's got to be hot, I
It's
would
beautiful.
assume. Oh
It's
yeah?
beautiful outside. Yeah. Yesterday was a little muggy, kind of like all clouds. But today it's like really sunny. It's
Nice.
about 82 degrees outside.
Ooh. All
So it's
right.
like perfect tank top and shorts weather.
Okay, okay.
But being an Irish and Scottish white guy, I like
Sure.
it's also my nemesis at the same time. So
Ah, I get
um
that. I
yeah,
get that. But
it's
nice,
good
yeah.
though.
It sounds like things could be a lot worse. Um,
Yes.
obviously, I want to talk about this EP. It's awesome. I've listened to it
Thank
a
you.
couple times already, and
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Normally, I would want to focus in on one song, but considering it's an
Mhm.
album of songs, let's hear about the
Mhm.
whole thing. I want to start on the
Yeah.
production side of things.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
how much of this is you, and how much is it a team kind of coming in and
Mhm.
tightening the screws and bolts?
I think it's always a team. Like
Hmm.
no matter what, there's no way that I can,
Sure.
go and even take credit for it. I mean, I wrote the songs, Unbreakable and Guilty, the first and the last song of the EP, were written with my producer's son, Evan Fredrickson, who's also my guitarist in my band,
Awesome.
and like one of my best friends. He and he's helped. It was basically Marty Fredrickson, who is, multi-platinum producer, Evan and I together kind of was able to formulate the sound. And I mean, Marty's a genius. He's like, we call him
Awesome.
Obi-Wan Kenobi because he's just like wise and he knows the ways of all of it.
Right.
And we had some other musicians play on this some of the songs like steel guitar and saxophone
Nice.
on 5 Minute Friend. But other than that, it's just me, Evan, and Marty.
That's awesome, man. Well, like I said, it turned out amazing.
Thank
This
you.
next question though is always tough because
Hmm.
if it was an isolated single we were talking about, it would be a
Hmm.
lot easier. But considering this is, it's a six-song album, I'll say,
Yeah.
is there a song that you're the single most proud of?
Oh,
Maybe one that you would, maybe not proud of, but one that you would recommend a listener check out to really get into what you think encompasses your sound as a whole.
that's a good question. You know, each song is so different.
Sure.
Each song has, and then the way that it's played, having it be Unbreakable and Mistake,
Right.
Undercover, Foolish, Five, and Guilty.
Mhm.
Um, it kind of takes you on a cool little like journey
Right.
of here's all these different parts of this artist. And
Yeah.
each of them are different. Like Unbreakable kind of kicks off with a very, which was the first single, this
Right.
kind of like motivational yet like honest um, kind of lyric with a really kind of cool upbeat like Coldplay, One Republic
Mhm.
slash pop rock vibe, and then it like leans into Mistake, which is kind of a John Mayer goes to the beach
I
type
could see
vibe,
that. I could see that. Totally,
and then
totally.
Undercover's got like hints of James Brown and the like
Right.
classic barbershop, and then Foolish is a kind of a big kind of 80s power ballad meets pop, and then Five is Huey Lewis and the News,
Right.
and Guilty is little Elton John, little Train, little that early 2000s rock. So
Mhm.
it kind of captures all the different sides of me. um my favorite song on days like today where it's like really sunny outside
Okay, okay,
and everything's kind of fun, I really love listening to 5 Minute
okay.
Friend, because
Just
it's
like
just
the
a
perfect
bop,
kind of like
and I'm like
summery
let's
sounding.
go, it's a total summer vibe. But if I'm like driving somewhere, Mistake is so easy listening. And when I want to go for a run, I'm like Unbreakable, let's go.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, I love all the songs, I really do.
I think that just goes to show that you're not a one note performer. You know what I mean?
Thank
There's
you.
so many artists
Appreciate
out
that.
there that they just make country music, they just make
Hmm.
pop music. But, one of the things that I like to ask is like, are you looking to experiment in your sound? But I think you've kind of just answered that already without even being asked, because you're not pigeonholing yourself into a singular sound. You're sort of even setting a base for the future on whatever
Mhm.
else you'll create. Because one thing I really enjoyed about the record was that there isn't just one sound. You could take one of the songs and
Mhm.
use it as the focal point of a whole next album.
Mhm.
You could make a jazz album, you could make an 80s pop album. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of just goes to show like talents overall.
Thank you.
So again, great job on that.
Thank you.
Not necessarily even on this record, but sort of in the grand scheme of everything that you've created so far. What are you trying to accomplish with it? What sort of like message are you trying to get out there with it all?
Well, before I answer that, the steel guitarist on five, his name was
Okay.
Bruce Booten. I kind of want to give that, and the
Please,
saxophone
yeah.
player was Eric Salkin. Great musicians, really great. Now to answer the question, I didn't want to leave them out.
No, no, no,
Credit is
please.
always
Shout out
Give
anyone you
credit
got to
where
shout
credit is
out.
always due. It's always something
100%.
I was taught. My parents, but I guess like the overall message, right?
Yeah,
Um, I'm more than music,
got it.
and I think that's how human beings are. We're
Yeah,
more than just one thing. Like, you're an interviewer, but you're also a son, and you're someone who
sure.
likes to work out, and you're a personality, and you're all these different things. That
Right.
I'm not just a musician, and I'm not just a singer, and I'm not. Um, and I think there's something interesting about that, to put that idea of like I'm not just one thing into music, and kind of have music be, like you said, all these different aspects
Mhm.
of who we are. And the EP in itself, the reason why it's called Calvin Court was, during COVID, I did these cul-de-sac concerts on my street.
Awesome.
And my street's called Calvin Court, and I did 25 shows, and the whole neighborhood kind of came out. And I was seeing online that other people were doing it as well, and it was just a cool way for like the community to come together. And it was like,
That's
oh,
really
I'm more
cool.
than just somebody who wants to make music for the money.
Sure.
I'm more than just that. And
You're
I want
putting
to,
smiles on people's faces when they need it the most.
and that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
When I want to create an experience for someone.
totally.
And so to capture that into being like human, and that's what I love about Guilty, the final song, is it is about, being human. And
Right.
it kind of builds to that point of the whole EP. It kind of like has that journey of, oh, here are a bunch of different avenues that human beings go through,
Mhm.
like different feelings, and to kind of give that people all in a very connective way, because we're all humans, and so we all connect
Yeah.
deeper than we probably think we do. And I think that's really cool.
That is really awesome. And also you got super lucky that the name Calvin Court is like a super like
It's a
slick
cool
sounding
name.
name.
It's a cool name.
You could have lived on like the ugliest street name and just gone back and forth like, do I
Yeah,
name the
like
record that?
Bourbon Farger Boulevard,
Right. Like it
Nelly.
just doesn't
Like,
have that snappiness to it.
yeah, it's
So
cool. And I
yeah,
when I came up with the title, because we were kind of tossing it around to the team
sure.
of like, do we want to call it, the cul-de-sac? Do we want to call it the this? Because I was thinking like, oh, I do want to keep it in this.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
to
such a
capture,
momentous like you said you played
yeah,
25 shows. That's a
25
lot
shows,
of shows.
a lot of shows.
Like damn. I mean, I guess we all had to keep busy in some capacity, but like that's a lot. So
It
it
was a
obviously
lot.
meant a lot.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like it was really scary at first,
Sure.
because I was playing to a cul-de-sac and nobody was there. I had a few neighbors who I was like, hey, I'm going to be playing music, so
Don't
just
call
be
the
aware.
cops.
Yeah, don't call the cops. And they were like, okay. And then I was doing Instagram live, and
Yeah.
I'm like playing, nobody's there. So when the song's done, there's no clapping. It's just
They're like,
me being like,
yay.
yeah,
Yeah.
good
You did
job,
it, Troy. You
me.
did it.
Yeah,
That's
you're killing it,
hilarious.
you know?
Well,
And
I would assume that people eventually started to catch on or the word got out. And it's just like
yeah.
people crave live music.
Mhm.
So
And it was cool to have the whole kind of neighborhood kind of come out, and
that's really
everybody
cool.
bits and pieces, or they were just riding their bike, or they walked by and
Right.
stay for a little bit. And it wave, and then
That's cool,
I became
man.
the guy who plays music in the neighborhood.
There you go. And guaranteed they'll all remember it
Of
forever.
course.
Whether you think it had an impact on them or not, there's not a lot of there's not a ton of bright spots in the past year. So the fact that you were legitimately bringing joy to people's lives, whether they liked it or asked for it or not, I think that says a lot about you as a person, as a character. So like, damn, I kind of wish I lived in Nashville at the time, I'll be honest. Because it's been what my last real concert was like March of last year. And yeah, and it's just like counting down the days till the shows come back. So you've done the people a service.
Well, come on out.
I'm coming.
Come on out.
One of these days. I'm coming.
Book that ticket.
I know. I kind of want to go back to something you said when you were explaining all the individual songs and their inspirations on different genres and this and that. I want to know about your inspirations as an artist. Like, who'd you grow up listening to? Who'd your parents have on in the car? And what kind of spurred you, artist-wise, to make your own music?
That's a great question. I grew up in kind of like a smorgasbord of music.
I get that.
Plethora.
Yes.
of different things. So I grew up listening to classic rock like Elton John, love Billy Joel, love Queen, Bruce Springsteen. My dad loves Bruce Springsteen, especially growing up in Jersey.
I think we may have had the same parents because I grew up on the exact same four artists. Billy Joel and Elton John never left the car.
Yeah, that we had a lot of Third Eye Blind in the car.
Nice.
We had a lot of a good amount of Johnny Cash too.
Oh, okay.
So like Johnny Cash. My dad loves John Denver, so we had some of that. And I mean, as I grew up, I would kind of gravitate towards like I started loving like Huey Lewis and and Lionel Richie's really great, and Stevie Wonder, and like I love Motown, so kind of grabbing that, and then growing up on Aerosmith, and then working with Marty, who Jaded. It's like, oh, whoa, like that's crazy,
buddy.
And it's like, okay, let's like check ourselves, like where are we? And like, it's cool. And so kind of having those like classic rock roots, growing up loving that, but also being such a big fan of pop music, because it slaps.
Yeah, man,
it's so good.
Makes you feel good. Makes you feel really good.
And I kind of want to bring that rock back. And what we always say is, Troy is at the intersection of pop and rock.
100%.
And it's right there. And I think the music kind of speaks for that.
It does. Well. Yeah, if I had to, I mean, I don't need to ask because it is, but like even sort of summing up your sound, like it does blur those lines in a way that you could go either way and it works.
Yeah, and some lean a little bit more. Like Guilty is definitely more of a classic rock song. Yeah. While 5 is like a bop.
Right.
But it has that like Stevie Wonder clavinet kind of going.
The groove, man.
It still has that like 70s groove, which I really enjoy. Like 100%. The doobie vibes. Like I love the doobie.
Right.
It's that, that whole vibe.
So you've proved to me that you have amazing taste in music. But sort of the follow-up to that is, was there a specific album in your life that you listened to that had such an effect on you that you were like, I am going to try to make music for myself? Like, the sort of like the turning point into like this thing led to the next
specific album. I grew up doing a lot of musical theater.
Sure.
So a lot of the albums I listened to were musical theater.
Okay.
And I started writing because my late voice teacher, his name is Rob. He was like, hey, you got to start writing songs. And at 14, I just started writing songs. None of them were good, but that's okay. That's always how it is. You got to start somewhere. And so as I kind of went through musical theater, that kind of piggybacked with Queen. And because Queen's very, very,
it's the most musical theater music there is. Yeah.
And I didn't really listen to a lot of albums growing up. I was more of a singles guy.
Sure.
Like, oh, I like this song. I like this song. I like this song. It wasn't until kind of recently when I was kind of going through this journey of looking for my sound.
Okay.
And honestly, I still might be on that journey. I think I am. because
Well,
it
you never
always changes.
stop. You're always being
Yeah,
influenced by some music, whether it
exactly,
came out, 100 years ago or it's going to come out in 10 years. It's
exactly,
always going to have an effect on you.
exactly. And honestly, when I listened to "Goodbye Yellow Brick Road" by Elton
Yeah.
John, I was like, this is so out there,
Oh, yeah.
but it's awesome.
It's an immersive experience. And it's so much more, that album specifically is so much more than just the singles.
Hmm.
Like, there's some really deep cuts on there that are like very experimental and very out there that
Yeah,
you're
like
like,
the
is this Elton John? Funeral
I
for
think
a Friend?
like Jamaican Jerk Off is like,
Yeah.
it's like you're like, oh my gosh, you're like,
Like,
oh, it's so good.
yeah, dude.
It's
Mind blowing stuff.
And that was kind of a cool thing to think of, especially as an artist who is growing up um, in a market that's so pop single
Yeah.
forward. To look at those albums and to hear these songs that are like kind of weird and
Right.
strange, and the lyrics might not make any sense, but they work. It kind of opens that like, oh hey, this is allowed. You can
Yeah.
do this and be a little different and have a little more fun than being like, I gotta do 4 chords and I gotta do it. And it has to just say baby 15 times.
There's no
You know?
boundaries anymore. No
Yeah.
boundaries. So you mentioned that you started writing your songs when you were around 14. What does 14-year-old Troy look like now to present day Troy, in terms of like the process as a whole? Like, do you still start with lyrics? Does it start with a guitar riff? How do you go about it?
The creativity kind of comes from everywhere.
Okay.
Um, as I've been in more writing situations and like more writers' rooms and all that stuff, um, I find I'm a little more melody driven,
Okay.
and maybe that's from my musical theater background to have like, oh, this is a really weird, cool melody that kind
Yeah.
of flips to my falsetto. And but there are some times where I sit down, um, like with Foolish, I just sat at the piano and I started playing the piano first. And with Undercover, I was leaving the gym and I was just waking up on the bright side. And it was like, I was like, oh, that's kind of really cool. I have to get home like right now. So Unbreakable started with a riff, with the riff. So everything kind of has a different um, avenue. I think that kind of creativity and songwriting is kind of, it's like somebody sends it to you,
Right.
and if you're willing to accept it and pick it up and work with it, then it continues. So it's like somebody called it like their genius, where it's like, oh, I just get the idea from somewhere. I don't know how I
Yeah.
got it, and I write it down. So I can't take credit for it. But
That's all
yeah,
right.
sometimes they just flow through, being a vessel for that type of stuff.
Totally. So now that you've made this decision, you're on this path as an artist and a musician, is there something that you enjoy specifically about it all, about being an artist and being a creative as a whole?
I really love performing.
Okay.
I mean, as an actor as well, I love performing. Musical theater, I love performing.
Sure.
Um, and I really love creating. I find that when stuff starts to get really technical,
Hmm.
I'm a little more, not distant, but I find myself not being as immersed as if it's like we're in the creativity and we're in it and we're trying to create something so cool and
Yeah.
different and fun. Um, but the performing, there's nothing like it. There's no, I mean, when you get on a stage and you kind of sing and you connect.
Yeah.
I had somebody the other day tell me, they were like, you looked at me for like a long time. And I was like, yeah. I was like, well, it was probably about like 6 seconds totally,
Okay.
because I only sang like half of a verse at you,
Yeah.
which is like 6 seconds. And they were like, really? Because they were like, it felt like a minute. I'm like, nope. But
That's
I was
the
like, were you
connection.
connected? And they were like, oh, I was so connected. I didn't want to look away. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, and being able to hear that from someone and being able to have that,
Yeah.
like,
Awesome.
I locked in and it was like, whoa, I'm affecting you in a good
Yeah.
way of being like, we are connected right now. That is, it's such a great feeling.
I love that, man. And so speaking of touring, obviously things are a little tough over here in California in the live show department. But
Yeah.
how are things looking for you? Do you have shows planned? Do you have things in the future going on? Like what's going on in the tour schedule?
So on the 17th, the day before the EP comes out,
Nice.
I'm doing a cul-de-sac show.
Hell
Cul-de-sac
yeah.
concert. Yeah,
Bring it
so
back.
we're gonna do it once a month
Oh, okay, cool.
instead of once a week or two or once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it once a month. We have a full band instead of just me and
Sweet,
Evan.
man.
I hope the HOA doesn't shut us down, but I feel like they won't.
True.
I feel like we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. I mean, we're gonna have a stage. We have like lights and a full band and more speakers, and just
Awesome.
inviting people. So that's really nice. I'm really looking forward to that. In addition, I have some shows in Atlanta,
Oh.
and just setting up some shows here in Nashville. I know with the EP kind of coming out, it's like, okay, cool. Here's a product now that I could
Yeah.
send somebody that it's 6 songs. It's not just 1 or 2 or 3, where it's like, this is a 20-minute set at least.
No,
if I
that's
don't
great.
speak in between it. So that for a venue is a little more, they're willing
Suitable.
to kind of
Totally.
take that on a little bit. Like, okay, this is how you sound. And then with the cul-de-sac show, we'll have a videographer, and we're going to be recording it live. So
That's cool.
I can have all of it and it'd be like, oh, and this is how we look live. And here's this really cool venue. And it's like in front of my house. And it's,
Yeah.
like looks really cool. And the crowd is like filling the cul-de-sac and stuff. So
That's
I
awesome.
think it's going to be good. And I think for fall is when we'll really be kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like it's like that for everyone, no matter state laws, mainly on the venue side. Just like obviously there's never been more artists in the world than there are right now.
Yes.
And with even venue closures, it's just like everyone's either fighting for a spot or postponing till the middle of next year. So to get a spot is a big deal. But to also like keep the momentum up is another thing.
And to get people there.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
obviously.
that's
People are craving it. So.
Yeah, and people want to go, but there's also like, how it is.
Oh, I know.
I mean, if you can have a really big following and just
but they could be spread out.
And exactly, and they just don't connect on a live standpoint too. I mean, you can be great on the record and you go live, and it's just like it's not the same experience.
True.
And that's what I try to bring that. The live experience to me is way more, personal than.
Totally. No, you gotta have a killer show. You gotta make that connection. You gotta stare people right in the eyes for 6 seconds.
I gotta stare at you for like 6 seconds.
Be like, you remember this face.
I'm gonna remember this moment when you for next time. Exactly.
Totally, man. Yeah. So, all right, out of all the artists that you mentioned in the past 20 something minutes of us talking, who is a dream collaboration for you if you had to pick a single one?
Well, Freddie Mercury's gone.
Oh, it could be dead or alive.
Oh, okay.
There's no rules here. You can do whatever you want.
We'll say Freddie Mercury.
Okay.
Would definitely be one of them.
Would it be a duet situation?
Yeah, pull like an Under Pressure.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Like try to maybe do something like that, or just come up with something fun. I mean, I think that would be cool. I think writing with Jackson Browne would be cool.
That's awesome. I actually saw, he was one of the last shows I saw before everything shut down. He like showed up at another person's concert. I was like, oh my God, living legend. Yeah. Also, I think super underrated. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves.
I mean, he wrote a lot of the Eagles songs.
Right.
So it's like, he's kind of one of those like secret, but he's not a secret. He's Jackson Browne.
Yeah, no, I know. He's a very well-known name.
Yeah, he kind of like skates that.
He does.
In between, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that would be
he's actually playing with James Taylor at Bridgestone.
Really?
In August. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'm like hoping I can get tickets to that because
even a bad seat at that show would be like I was there.
I'll stand.
Yeah, I'll
stand.
I'll sit in the parking lot. But
just give me a live stream.
Totally.
I could almost feel.
Yeah,
I think those two would be cool. There's so many good writers out here.
Oh yeah,
There's
Nashville
so many. I mean,
packed,
there's so many great writers
stacked.
in New York and LA and all
Yeah,
over the world. But I mean, just I could be sitting across the table from someone who's written 5
yeah.
number ones, and
You'd
they're
have
just
no
like a
idea.
genuine human being,
Yeah,
and they're just like,
so cool.
you know, it's awesome.
I've never been to Nashville, but it's
Oh, you got to
definitely on
come.
my list of places to visit.
You got to
So
come.
I'll get out there one of these days.
Yeah.
Moving aside from the music
Mhm.
for just a minute, we are just about halfway through this year.
Yeah.
And I want to know, how do you plan on working on yourself as a human being for the next 6 months?
I love that question. I love that question.
Sweet.
So I spent a lot of last year working on myself,
Yes.
which is great. I had a lot of time to kind of figure out.
Totally.
Who would have thought I would have had all the time? I had
Crazy.
some time to figure out some things. I turned 25 at the end of the month.
Nice.
So I was able to kind of figure out more of who I am.
Mhm.
Kind of what do I like? What do I enjoy? Who are the type of people I like hanging out with?
Yeah.
Which friends are actually friends?
Oh,
And
dude, yes.
and not like I'm giving 80% and they're giving 20.
Mhm.
And who are the people who give me 50 and I give 50?
Right.
And who are the people who give me 80 and I give 20? And how
Yeah.
can I give more to them? And that has kind of bled into this year as well. And so I think from June to December, one of my goals one of my goals at the beginning of the year was, how can I find joy every day?
That's tough.
Even when I'm extremely stressed out and having an EP release and I have all these things, and I got to set up a show, and how can I find the joy in all that? How
Yeah.
can I, and the way to do it that I found is, it's not worrying about how many streams something gets. It's not worrying about who's going to listen to it, but it's, am I proud of the product? And the answer is yes. So it doesn't matter.
That's all you can do, man. You
That's all I
spend the
can do.
time, you spend the money. Like, if you're not happy with the end product, that obviously sucks.
Yeah.
But you also got to enjoy the little moments and the writing part of it, and the recording
Yeah.
part of it. And it's not just a single release. It's not just an EP release.
No.
It's the whole journey of getting there and the promotion and then this and that. Like, it's a full-time business, and I don't think people get that.
And it's so kind of parallels life too. Like,
Yeah.
you can get so caught up in the business side of it.
Yeah.
And I was at a rehearsal yesterday and with the band for the cul-de-sac concert.
Sure.
And we were kind of figuring it out, because it was a rehearsal, it was a full band. We're like, okay, how do we do? And there are moments that like didn't sound great, there are moments that sounded awesome.
Of course.
And instead of the moments that didn't sound great, me being like, this is terrible, I'm having a hissy fit, it was more like,
Right.
like, oh my gosh, it's in 3 days and whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of was able to be like, this is where we are. Like, let's just take a beat and realize where we are. It's like, we're in a studio practicing music.
Yeah.
2 years ago, actually today, I flew to Nashville for the first time.
Yeah, dude.
And like,
Yeah.
I'm
You
now
gotta
in
reflect.
the same studio Neil Diamond recorded in,
Right.
practicing an hour and a half set. And
Awesome.
we're, crushing it to the degree that we can without practicing. I mean, yesterday was like our first rehearsal. So it's like, yeah. And by the end of it, we were like, damn, this sounds awesome. And if I kind of slipped into that like really type of energy,
right,
the whole rehearsal would have been brought down, instead of me being like, you know what, maybe the reason why I'm feeling this way is I didn't have dinner and I'm tired. And so I'm a little like, okay, I'm a little on edge because I'm hungry, but and I can now recognize that because of the work I did last year. And there's always work to be done. I mean, finding that happiness in every day is hard, but if you make it a point and it's a part, if you say that you are somebody, your words are stronger than you think they are.
Right.
So if I'm someone who has empathy, and it kind of comes full circle to back to like what the music is. It's like, I am this. If I am unhappy, it's like, why am I unhappy? Is it because of other people, or is it because of me?
Sure.
And for most of the time, it's me. Of like, oh, it's maybe somebody did something that affects me, but why does it affect me?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and
and then
I,
it's you gotta look, you gotta take a step back and kind of look in, and yeah, that goes to enjoying the process.
Mhm.
And yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Um, so I've got one more question for you,
yeah,
and it's something that I like to close with. But basically, I want to know, for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the person that is going to dive into your music for the first time, what is a
yeah.
parting message that you would like to pass off to them?
Welcome, obviously.
Yes. Hello.
Welcome. You know, hey, I'm Troy. No, we're doing it. We're doing it. That has a lot of my friends kind of make fun of me for that, because it's now on the top of my Instagram. It says
That's
we're doing
awesome.
it. I'm not trying to do it. We're doing it. And if you join
Happening.
this community of Troy, if you become one of the people of Troy, you know, you're also doing it. And we're in this together.
I love
And
it.
yeah,
Awesome. That's great. That's
thank
great.
you.
Troy, I cannot thank you enough for taking the
Yeah,
time out of your day. I'm really
of
happy that
course.
we can make this work.
Yeah, it was
For
awesome.
everyone else, this is going to be coming out on the 17th, but the EP Calvin Court comes on the 18th, which is a Friday,
Yes.
which is this
Yes.
Friday, which
Yeah.
means it should be the only thing that you should be listening to repeatedly because it's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
And you'll find the specific songs that fit your mood, but ultimately it's a really fantastic listen. And again, congratulations on its impending release, but
Thank
also
you.
thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Austin. It was awesome.
Awesome, man. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I look forward
You
to
too.
speaking soon.
Yes,
Awesome. Take care, man.
absolutely. All right, have a good one.
See ya.